Hey y'all, this video is just some wisdom I needed to make for the younger generation. If you want to take the advice, take the advice. I suggest you do because it's what I see as I've grown up from being in your position to where I am today. And the simple truth is just try hard. Try hard. Take every chance that you're given. If you have an instrument that you started practicing when you were young, keep playing it throughout your 20s, throughout your teens. If there was some sport, some activity, gymnastics, dancing, swimming, art, music, drama, languages, sports, chess, math, science, physics, programming, computer coding, whatever you picked up when you were younger and started, you have an infinite edge over anybody else that's going to do that in the future. That's what I have done. Everything I did, computer programming, sports, chess, stock market, sports, music, guitar, piano, math, science. I kept it up all the way throughout my 20s into my 30s. And that makes a world that changes your life by the time you're in your 30s, early to mid 30s. Because 15 to 20 years ago, I was in your shoes. I was in high school. And you see all the cool kids, all the hot kids, all the kids that have friends and are happy and smiling and are having the time of their lives and have no worries. When we get to our 30s, back then we were first generation immigrant parents. So our parents came to the country with nothing and tried to give us all they could, a better opportunity. And some of us make the most of that opportunity by working hard. And into our 30s, all those other kids that were hot and cool and happy and relationships and everything, and the popular kids who had parents who sacrificed for them, in my age, they have nothing. And they're trying to get married. They're trying to take vacations. They're trying to have kids. They're trying to get jobs. They're trying to make a living. And it's sad to see that they have nothing. Because they're not first generation immigrant parents. They were in the same high school that I was. So they had all the opportunity. And I'm not just saying that because I have a lot. Because there are those who did try hard, who also had nothing, first generation immigrant parents, and now they have a marriage where they can afford things. They have kids they can afford to raise. They have pets. They can go on vacation. They can buy a home. They can buy cars, all in the same age group as I am. Mid 30s, early 30s, late 30s. They can move. They can travel. They can work. And so the most important thing is education and all those skills you have acquired. You got to keep that up. And you got to not just be another statistic that's just going to dick around in their 20s. And by the time they're in their 30s, they're struggling because you can't go backwards. They're just struggling. The only time they had that was good in their lives was high school. That's when they were happy and popular. Because now they're dirt poor. It's just sad to see because these were my classmates. These were my peers. These was everyone who was equal. We were all equal in high school. We all had the same stuff, not much, not much. We all didn't have a job. We didn't have nothing. We had some clothes, some iPods, some fashion, some video games, some sports, some music, some supplies, some, electronics, whatever we all had the same stuff. And then we grow up, and those of us that work hard, not just me, there are many of my peers that also worked hard, especially those from good universities like University of Toronto. They're directors, they're bankers, they're financial marketing head, CEOs, entrepreneurs. They're killing it. They're killing it in their 30s. They're taking off like this, like a jet, by the thousands. Just going on my LinkedIn and looking at my connections from the University of Toronto, they're just coasting. They're flying. And then I look at my peers from high school that didn't get these educations, and they're like in the exact same spot my parents were. Come to this country with nothing. And they're in their mid 30s. They're trying to raise a kid. They're trying to have a marriage. They're trying to get a job, get a life, get a family, get a home. And you see them, and it's like they got nothing. Exactly where my parents were when they came to this country. And we all went to high school with the exact same opportunities. And then you have those kids that did work hard, that did get into the university, that did get an education, that did have skills, that did have talents, that did have hobbies, that did work and try hard. And they got so much to their portfolio, to their resume, to their careers, to their money, to their health, to their financials, to their opportunities. They can have a family, they can have kids, they can have cars, they can have vacations, they can have careers. And now they're happy. But then I see the people that don't have that much, and it's like, holy shit, They look like my parents, but they're not my parents because they're not first generation immigrants. They were like me in high school. Like, we all had the same opportunities. We grew up in this country. And how the hell are they poor in their mid 30s? Like, poor. And the kids that went to University of Toronto are CEOs and own their own companies. And have families and kids and houses and cars and vacations and money and gifts and everything. So you got to work hard. Remember, all the things you do, your talents as a kid, and then your teenage years, you got to continue to build on that through your 20s. You got to get an education, because an education is only 5 years or less, and it lasts your whole lifetime. Maybe 10 years in education after high school, and it lasts your whole lifetime. Because if you don't get an education, you can't do anything. You're going to be poor. There's nothing you can do. Even if you wanted to, you can't, because you don't have this expertise, knowledge, skills. You don't have the skills. You have even if you wanted to start your own business, you would struggle, because you have no idea what the fuck you're doing. And if you wanted to get hired by somewhere, no one's going to accept you because you don't have an education. So you can't even start. Whereas all the people that start at the bottom with an education, they quickly get promoted like this. They leave companies, they join a new company with a better salary, better position, better role. They get more money. They move around, they get promoted, build their resume, build their portfolio, and they're rich sooner or later. 10 years in, you graduate from university at 22, 21 years old. By the time they're in their mid to early 30s, like I am, they're rich. Because they had an education, and then they started their career with their education. And then if you just don't fucking have an education, By the time you're in your 30s, you got nothing. You can't start a family. You can't raise kids. Nothing. Can't do anything. So you got to work hard and get an education, because that opens doors for you. You can get experience. You can start a career. You can build your resume, build your portfolio. You gain experience, you gain knowledge, you gain skills. And then you will get all the money you want, and all the opportunities you want in life. So, just like Muhammad Ali, you gotta fight. And if you want to just dick around and be happy in high school, you're gonna look like my parents in your 30s. Whereas I work hard, and sky's the limit. Sky's the limit. Get an education, continue to study, continue to learn, continue to grow. Continue to build experience, knowledge, skills, application, practice, ability, talents. And yeah, that's my advice. That's what I see, because I see some people that are wealthy and I see some people that are not. And we were all equal in high school. To me, we were all equal. We were like, that guy was cool and hot. That girl was cool and hot. They were popular. But now they're like broke. And some other people are mega rich. And we were all the same playing field in high school, but some of us worked hard. So stay classy, DC.